So you're trying to quit weed and you're asking yourself, why is this so hard? Why am I having such a hard time quitting weed? Well, the answer is that there is no easy answer to why you are having a hard time quitting weed. But one thing that's helped millions of people is the 12-step program. It helped me, and it is basically what every rehab and addiction counseling program is based on to some degree. You know, they throw in some like medical stuff, but mostly it's like a cognitive behavioral type of therapy system. So we started with step one, which is kind of just getting honest about your addiction and that you have a problem. Step two is kind of being willing and seeing that there is a way out, that there is hope for even the most hopeless addict who can't seem to quit. Step three is about getting willing and seeing that, you know, you're going to have to start making these decisions and taking the necessary steps to get better. And then step four, what this video is all about clearing the wreckage of your past. Imagine like this is your past and that you're trying to clear it, and how much better it's going to feel. You can start understanding why you get so angry, or like all the things you have been angry about in the past, all the resentments that you have, all the things that your sexual inventory, like have you done some like not very good things in your sexual experiences in the past, and like you've never told anyone about them, but that's not good for you. That's not good for your unconscious being. You know, you need to like talk about this. You need to get these things out. You have to stop hiding the things you're embarrassed about, the things that you've done in your past. And then as you explore why you're angry at people, the things that you fear, why you're fearful, why you resent your mom, why you resent your dad, why you resent everybody in your life, then you're going to see that there's reasons behind this. And like we have a part to play in all our resentments and fears. And once you understand that resentments are such a like a normal thing, like such a major part of a person's life, especially an addict or anybody, that once you understand what's going on with like why you have these resentments, then moving forward, it's going to be a lot easier to avoid that in the future. Because when you're trying to get sober, we use marijuana to hide those negative feelings. You know, like when I get angry, when I'm like, oh man, I really hate this person, or like, you know, my boss is being this way, or like my mom or my dad's being this way, I'm like, oh, I'm so stressed out, I just want to smoke, you know, and then all those feelings go away. But what we want to try to do is figure out why those feelings are so strong and why they don't need to be so strong, why those resentments don't have to control our lives, and in turn, we don't get stressed out and we don't have to use a substance to feel better. Like we already feel better. We don't have to hide from those things, you know? So step 4 is all about taking the inventory. And when you take an inventory, you're basically writing down, so you can start with resentments. You write down everything and everyone you're resentful about. That may seem like a lot, but you can kind of break it down into starting with God or the universe or society, you know, like the big picture. Like, I remember my resentments were like, I resent being born into the life I was born into. I resent the world being the way it was. I resent society being the way it was. I resent that, like, we don't take care of homeless people, that people are starving here and there, and like, why are people so mean to each other? Like, I'm just like, this is not right. And it kind of like made me really angry. And then on top of that, I was resentful at my parents. I'm like, man, I'm really resentful at my mom. She's not a very good mom. I'm really resentful at my dad. He's a deadbeat. He left my mom before I was even born. And I never had a father figure. You know, I resent my friends. They didn't treat me the way I wanted to be treated. I wanted more attention. You know, I wanted to be like Mr. Popular. I wanted everyone to like me. I wanted them to like, just like, I wanted everyone to act the way I wanted them to act. I wanted to control everything. I couldn't accept life that the way it was. And that's basically the resentments come down to very simple things like I want things to be a different way and they're not. And because they're not the way I want them to be, because somebody else has a better life, because somebody else has more money, somebody else is taller, somebody else is more popular, somebody else gets more attention, then I'm like, oh, well, I should have that too. Like, I deserve this. Like, I'm Mr. Important. And because I'm so important that like I deserve this, like I'm entitled to everything I want without having to work for it. Not ever thinking about how other people have the same idea. Like everyone wants the same thing and we can't all be number one. We can't all have all the attention. We can't all have, everything that we want. We can't control other people. Like I don't want to be controlled by other people. Like if someone wants all the attention, like I don't want to be like, oh, I have to give them all the attention because that's what they want or else they're going to get angry, and that's just, I have to think of the same way for me. I want other people to act a certain way, but they don't want to act that way. Why should they have to do whatever I want? I have to accept that these things just happen. So we start off with our resentments, write out things that we're resentful for. Big ones, things that are kind of like affecting you right now. Like when I say think of people or things you're resentful at, you can probably think of some things right away. Like maybe someone at work, maybe someone at school, someone in your family, one of your friends, the next door neighbor. And sometimes there are people you don't know, like the person that just cut you off on the freeway yesterday. Like think of some incidents on the freeway that get you really angry, and it's like, why are you so angry about it? You want to write down what you're resentful at. And then you're going to be like, now, why did this make me angry? Well, because they were a jerk, basically they were a jerk or they didn't do what I wanted them to do. And then what's my part? This is the big thing. Like it's easy to be resentful. You can write down 1,000 resentments and they're all going to be the same thing. Like I wanted things to be a different way. And things aren't. Like things happen in the world and it's not, I can't control them. Nobody controls anything. This is kind of like step 3 type of stuff. Like step 3 is there's just a bigger picture and things happen and I just have to accept that things happen the way they happen because they happen. That's basically it. You can go a step further and say things happen for a reason, but that might be too big of a concept for a lot of people. For now, it's just things happen and I can't control everything, but I think I can for some reason. And so I get angry when things aren't happening the way I want them to be. And when does anything ever happen the way I exactly want them to be? Great things happen, bad things happen. That happens to everybody. Everybody has to deal with the same thing. And some people are just better at dealing with normal occurrences in life. Like people making you angry, that's normal. People cutting you off on the freeway, that's normal. Most people don't like lose their shit over that or have to use weed every day to be able to drive on the freeway without like losing their stuff. So basically you write down your resentments and you have to see like, what is my part in it? Like, oh, this person is not paying enough attention to me. Well, my part is like, I'm just a selfish person. Like who says that this person has to pay attention to me? I don't have to pay attention to other people if I don't want to. So what makes me so special that people have to treat me a certain way? And that's basically it. Like you can write down as many resentments as you want. And my part is how I react to them. There are some things that happen that are just like horrible, like trauma. Maybe just some random dude just beat me up when I was a kid. What did I do? I didn't do anything to deserve that. But my part in that is that I still hold on to that. I'm not willing to let that go. I'm still letting that person control how I feel. If I want to really have freedom, if I want to really be empowered, I have to let go. That's what I do have control over. I don't have control over anything else outside of myself. But I do have control over how I react to things, how I just let things go. I don't have to like let things get to me. I can just be okay. And then when I'm okay, I don't have to use marijuana to push those feelings down. Because even if I don't think about the resentments, they're still eating away at me, even though I don't even know that. And the more I realize like how many resentments I do have, when I start actually thinking about it, I'm like, oh man, I am angry. Like I am angry at this person. I'm still angry at this person from like 20 years ago or 10 years ago. Or that kid who stole my toy when I was in like elementary school, or I let him play with it and he broke it, or I let him borrow it and he never gave it back. I'm like, man, I'm still holding on to that. These are things we don't want to hold on to because they affect us subconsciously. So this step is just about writing down all the things you're angry at, all the things you're resentful for. And there's other parts to this step, but that's the main one. If you want to go further into the step, I was going to make a video with like maybe split up each part of the step, but for a general overview, you're going to write down like all the things you're afraid of. Like, man, I'm just afraid of stuff. Like, I'm afraid of people. I'm afraid of being turned down by a woman who like asking her out and she's going to turn me down. I'm afraid my fiance is like not going to like me, or like she's just pretending, or I'm afraid of like, speaking in public. I'm not, but this is one that a lot of people are afraid of. Or like, I'm afraid of like spiders, or I'm afraid of like being poor or losing my job and then losing my apartment and then losing this, losing that. These are all fears, and some fears can be healthy, but irrational fears are not healthy. And so if I'm doing good at my job and my boss is like, you're doing great, but every day I'm like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. Like I like broke a pencil by accident, or like I sent an email and I didn't add the attachment. Oh no, I'm going to lose my job. That's just like such an irrational fear. And when you can write down your fears and figure out what's normal, because as an addict, most likely our fears are like not right size. They're actually probably way overblown and just like enormous fears that have no basis in reality. Sure, if like there's a car coming at you at 50 miles an hour, yeah, you should be afraid, but if you've been driving on the freeway your whole life and you're careful, you're a good driver, you pay attention, you're not smoking weed on the freeway like I used to do all the time. And I wasn't afraid of that, but I shouldn't be afraid of driving. And driving is one of the most dangerous things you could possibly do. So many people die on the freeway, and I'm not scared of that at all. But like, I am scared about like what people think about me. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that person's thinking, or like, I wonder if this person really likes me. It's like, who cares? Like, that is not a rational fear. It's normal, but it's really not a rational fear. So that's another thing. You want to start getting your fears, a list of fears, if you can. Then you got that sexual inventory. It's like, man, did I lie to someone so they'd sleep with me? Or like, did I sleep with a lot of people who, I only slept with them so they like me, and now I feel like really gross about it? Or like, did I cheat on someone? That's a big one. Like, oh, did I cheat on someone when I was with somebody else? That's a big one. Or like my dad would be like, oh, well, I got my wife pregnant and then I didn't want her to have the kid, and so I left. It's like, whose fault was that? You could have used a condom. It's not her fault that she didn't want to get an abortion. Sorry, this is getting deep. This is like the trauma. But when you talk about it enough, it starts losing its power. That's never going to go away. I'm never going to forget like these things that happen, but I don't think about them all the time. And I've talked about them enough that it's lost its power, but it used to be like, I used to just be really sad about that. But, and these are things you don't usually talk about with anybody but your therapist. But the beauty of the 12-step program is that you have all these people that are doing the exact same things. Like if I were to tell someone in like a 12-step program, oh man, like I really resent my dad because of this and that, and I still think about it, and it's just so sad, they'd be like, oh, I totally understand. Like I resent my dad too. He was a total jerk. He used to like beat the shit out of me, or like he was like just never around when I needed him to be, or he always put me down, or like he just didn't listen to me, or he like turned me into this sports fanatic, and I just like don't even like sports, but he was like, you got to do this because you got to be successful, and all I wanted to do was be an artist. You know, it's interesting how people understand, but you might talk to someone else about this, like someone who's not in a program or not a therapist, and they'll be like, whoa, you're kind of weird, you know, like TMI, I don't really need to know about like your problems with your dad, you know, where I'm just here to have fun. So it's definitely interesting, getting getting all this stuff out. You're clearing the wreckage, your emotional wreckage. These are things that are like still eating away at you. And then I believe I totally forgot. There's a fourth one too. I totally suck. Got resentments, we got fears, we got the sex inventory. Oh, and the other part is kind of like secrets and other issues. Like, what's the most secretive thing that you would never admit to anyone? Something that like you haven't shared with even your closest confidants, your friends, your loved one. Something that you did, and like you're like, I'm never going to tell anybody about this. But those things, those secrets eat away at you. And like the more secret it is, the more you don't want to tell anyone, the more you have to tell someone. And that's something like pretty revolutionary about this program. It's kind of like confession. You know, you just want to like tell people, like when you hide things, it gains power. It becomes like so powerful in your mind. Like it gets power over you. But when you tell someone, most likely, like you tell the right person, you tell someone you can trust, they'll be like, oh man, I understand. Like that's terrible. Like you must have gone through a lot. You must have been it must have not felt good to hold on to that for so long. Or someone might say, oh yeah, man, like that's terrible. I did the same exact thing. Like you're not alone. Or like I've heard other people do that. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, I'm not like the biggest piece of trash in the world. You know, like I'm just like a human. I'm imperfect. And that like I made that mistake and I don't have to make that mistake anymore. You know, if I'm still doing it, yeah, maybe I'm becoming a piece of garbage, but you know, everyone deserves to be given. Yeah, people can change, but there are also consequences to actions. So I'm not saying like just do whatever you want and be like, oh, I'll change at some point. You know, these consequences last a long time. But anyways, and then on top of all the like the crappy stuff, all the anger and fear and sexual misconduct that we've done, then we go on to the assets. Like, what are the good things that we have? Like, you know, a lot of it's going to be like if we had a pretty traumatic childhood, we have resiliency, just surviving, just starting, um, just starting the journey to sobriety is a big deal that you should be proud of. You know, there's some people who may smoke for the rest of their lives and they're good with that. You know, like becoming sober is just a step to like a completely new journey. You're no longer chained to that substance. You're no longer a slave to addiction. You're not thinking constantly about, oh, I gotta smoke, I gotta do this, I gotta get more. Like, does this person know I smoke? I gotta hide this from this person. I gotta like lie about how much I smoke to this person. Now these people are talking to each other. Now they know how much I smoke, and now they know I'm just like a big fat liar. That sucks. It's much better to live in honesty and truthfulness. And then you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You don't have to worry about getting caught in a lie because you're not lying. So anyways, that's like a basic rundown of step 4. You know, you make a list, people you're angry at, people you fear, or things you fear, things you're resentful at, sexual misconduct, you know, and then some good things like what I try to be a nice person. I think I'm a nice person, even though like I've done a lot of bad things in the past. I wish I didn't do those things, you know, like, or I'm really nice to like cats, or I'm really nice to like the homeless person. I give $1 to the homeless guy, you know, that's something nice, you know. We're not just all the bad things that we think about ourselves. Like one of the biggest resentments and fears, like we resent ourselves. Like I resent myself for being the person I am today, that I couldn't be a better person, the person that I wanted to be. And part of that is like, I resent my addiction. I resent that I started smoking weed and I can't stop. You know, that is a big resentment. The biggest person, like most of us have to forgive, or maybe all of us, is ourselves. And as addicts, most of the time we have pretty low self-esteem. We're depressed. We're not very happy about who we are and who we've become, which is why we're trying to quit right now. But we just don't think we can quit. That's the problem. But you can. You just got to put work in. There's not an easy answer. It's just hard work. The hardest thing you may have ever done or will ever do in your life. And if you can like beat your addiction, then you have become like this super strong person. And if you think you aren't an addict, then try quitting for a couple weeks or a couple months. You know, like if your excuse is that like, well, I'm not an addict, so why would I quit? Well, someone who, like, if I ask someone to like not eat a hamburger for like a month, they'd probably be like, okay, you know, I can not eat hamburgers for a month, or like I cannot eat yogurt for a month, even though I really like yogurt, you know. But if you're like, hey, quit weed for like a month, people will be like, oh, no way, man, you don't know me. Or like they'll be like, yeah, I'll quit weed for a month, and then every day they're just like, 29 more days till I can get high, 28 more days till I can get high. You know, that's not a good way to live. Gotta get honest with yourself. But anyways, this is my interpretation of step 4 from adopted from the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It has like gotten millions and millions, tens of millions of people sober. It's completely free. 12-step programs are completely free. It's 100% voluntary. Everyone's just trying to help each other out, get sober, and nobody understands another pot addict like a pot addict. I understand how much you love weed, but at the same time, I understand like how much it's tearing you apart as well, because it tore me apart. Like I loved it so much, and yet it was ruining my life, and it took a long time to realize that it was ruining my life. That it wasn't the thing that was like, my life wasn't crappy and weed was the only good thing in it. It was like my life actually wasn't that bad, but weed was making it worse and worse. And I couldn't even see that. And it wasn't even weed necessarily. Sorry to contradict myself, but it was actually me. Like all the problems in my life was me causing them. Like I was the problem in my life. It wasn't like JoJo. It wasn't Ray Ray. It wasn't like Sarah down the street. It wasn't like my little brother or little sister that I didn't have that I wish I had. It was me being a jerk because I thought everyone else was a jerk. So I was a jerk, or I was like hiding from people. I was afraid of everything. And so people were like, oh, why does this person like never talk to me? You know, it's because like, I guess they don't want to know me, but it's really because like I was living in fear, living in resentments, I was just like, hey, I'd rather be smoking weed, man. So anyways, if you like the video, do the thumbs up, like the Fonzie, hey, or hit subscribe, hit the bell. I don't like hitting the bell. I don't want to get notified with a new video. Just like, you know, if you like these videos, please check back on my channel. I'm hoping to do this for like years to come. And If you actually made it this far, if you fell asleep or something and let the video run, that's fantastic because it does really well for my YouTube algorithm. If you like quit the video really early, that's really bad. So hopefully I was engaging long enough for you to stay here. Anyways, if someone hasn't told you they love you today, I love you.